What's up guys, welcome back to the fifth lesson of the essential tools in Photoshop. In this lesson we're going to talk about the automatic selection tools within Photoshop. Now Photoshop gives us the opportunity to create quick selection within the program with just few clicks. Now let's see what I'm talking about, each characteristics of this selection and when to use one, when to use another. Let's see. When we go on select, it gives us different options. We're gonna see the first one, which is gonna be subject. Now, when we click on subject, automatically Photoshop will give you a selection of the outline of a subject. So this is perfect when you have a beautiful contrast within the background and the subject that you want to isolate. This is more of selection done by Photoshop, so it doesn't give me any options of adjusting the selection. You can obviously add extra selection by using different types of tool. Now for example, I'm pressing Command and C to copy this and Command and V to apply on a new layer, and this is the selection that automatically Photoshop did. We can see that the hair are quite not really isolate properly, because obviously it's not easy for Photoshop to understand each of these type of detail. So I think this is quite nice when you have a bit more of a specific subject where it's a little bit more easy and automatic for Photoshop to select. Now guys, what is the another option is the focus area. Works amazingly for this type of area where you've got big contrast in between sharp area and blurry area. So remember to deselect the auto, otherwise Photoshop keeps rendering. When I move towards the left, it tends to automatically select the area that is sharper. So it's not super precise at the moment for this type of image. You can also change the preview of your image. There are different types of options. It's perfect when you've got a massive contrast of blur and sharp. You got advanced option where you've got, for example, in an image lots of noise, so it helps you to select the areas with more noise or less noise. You can also decide the output, if you want this as a selection on top of a layer, if you want this selection in a new layer or on a mask, or both of it. You can also soften out the edge in case you want, or you can go straight away in select a mask, which we already know what it does. It gives us the opportunity to adjust, and also we got different tools that we can use for our selection. Now we go new layer with the mask, and as soon as I click on the mask with Alt, we can see exactly what is this type of selection. Nice tool, but obviously for this type of works is not going to be the one that we can use. Another fantastic tool is color range. Color range opens this little window where we've got the option of selecting a specific kind of color. We can also select areas of highlights, midtones and shadows, or you can also select the skin tones. Now I always tend to keep on sample color. You can easily click on an area, which obviously you're clicking on a specific color, and then you can push the fuzziness up and it will implement the selection of that color. Let's say for example we're gonna start to work on the area of the fringe area with this beautiful color. Every time that I click, it will change the selection. You can also click Shift to add extra elements within your selection, or you can press Alt to remove a selection. You play around with this fuzziness, as in this way you can intensify the area that you just selected. Alt, it gives you the opportunity of removing a color from the selection. Let's say now I want to remove some areas. This is what I will do. You've got options like localize color clusters. it does a similar job of what contiguous does. So as soon as I click on the hair and then I reduce the range, we can see automatically it tends to narrow down our selection until we reach the point that we have just clicked. So it depends on the job that you need to do. You got detect the faces, which it will basically select a subject within the image. But when you work with the localized out, it works perfectly. You can also use the keyboards like command to see straight away what is your image that you're working on. In this way, in case you want to adjust and you don't know exactly where to click, this gives us the opportunity to see where we're working. We can invert the mask as well. You can also select the preview options. We tend to keep on none, and this will maintain original image on my foreground, and now I can see what I've got. When you click OK, it will give you automatically a selection within an image. Let's say we create a new layer now, and automatically it will give me the options in case I create a mask and I invert this mask to apply the selection. The next type of selection will be the select a mask, which is very common to use and very simple. So it's gonna give us a new completely page where we got the option of selecting by clicking on top of the area that we want to select. Give us different types of brushes, give us the opportunity to see different properties for the view mode. So I tend to keep on overlay because I find it quite easy for me to manage. You can also indicate the select area. It will make it red, or you got a masked area and then as soon as you click it will remove the masked. So edge detection gives me the opportunity to soften out the edge. So when we zoom in, we can see if I implement the radius, it gives me a little bit more of a soft blur within the edge. The smooth, it gives me a little bit more of a smooth effect. Feather, it blurs a lot, it gives lots of blend. Contrast, instead it gives me the opportunity to create a little bit more of a harsh edge. You can also shift the edge, so you can come into the image a little bit more of the selection you've done, or you can come out a little bit, so you can expand as well. So it's quite interesting as soon as you want to make sure that it fits perfectly for a specific type of subject. You can clean the selection in case you're not happy with what you've done, and this way you can start again. Output setting, it's a tiny bit more specific. It's a setting that I don't really use a lot. It gives me the opportunity to soften out the edge in the moment that I need to change the background. It kind of tends to analyze the color that is behind, and it helps you with the changing and the swapping of a subject. So it's very specific. I don't really use a lot into the retouching side, but it's good to understand why it's there. Another good thing is the output. So like we already seen, it gives us the opportunity to create this selection on a new layer, apply to it, or also apply a mask. You can also remember the settings. Different type of brush give us the opportunity to personalize our selection. Now remember, if the brush is too big or too small, it will vary our selection. You can click select, sample or layer. This brush is a refine edge brush tool. It gives us the opportunity to smooth it out and define the edge a tiny bit more. So you click and then automatically Photoshop tends to create a softer blend within a selection. This is our normal brush for this type of selection, so it's quite harsh. In this case, I'm removing the selection. Then we've got a new little friend for Photoshop 2020. These give us the opportunity to add or subtract a selection when you're highlighting, for example, a specific area. So now it's not doing much because I've got object subtract in. As soon as I remove it, it will subtract a selection with a square. The object subtract is quite good when you have, for example, here this little corner, and I want to make sure that it gives me a beautiful selection around the hair. And to isolate properly, as soon as I want to remove the selection, see, automatically read the surface underneath and it fills the gaps of my selection. If you leave your mouse there, it gives us the opportunity as well to see what it does. Last hand tool, zoom tool that you can access and easily play around and within the navigation of a selection. What is another thing that you can do, guys, which is quite interesting to know? Let's say if we create just a quick selection with select a mask, I just want to select the face. Now it will automatically add into a new layer because this is how it's set up. What I want to show you that you can always transform a selection. Now I've got my selection on. If I click on modify, it gives me to change the border, the smooth, the feather, or you can transform like with your transform tool and adapting your selection. In particular, if you want to define, if you want to expand it, you want to play around with it. So these different types of options that Photoshop gave us for automatic selection. So thank you very much, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it.